Halloween
forever.
All right, Steve, I got a series of riddles for you. Okay, you ready?
Cool.
What do you call a cow with no legs?
A cow with no legs.
Cow with no legs. What would you call a cow with no legs?
Oh,
What would be a cheeky little nickname for a cow with no legs?
no idea. No idea.
Ground beef, Steve.
Sure.
Ground beef. What do you call a cow with only 3 legs?
I don't know. I don't know these.
Lean beef, Steve. Keep up. Lean beef. Now, what do you call a cow with long legs?
What do you call a cow with long legs, Brian?
High stakes. Welcome, boys and ghouls, to a very bovine minisode. I don't know if Halloween is forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Steve.
I was trying to think of a
wait.
joke.
Hold on.
What?
Wait. I'm Steve.
No, you're not. Don't you giggle at yourself. I was trying to think of a joke that had to do with long legs. That's the only one I could think of, guys. All right, here we are, guys. If you didn't pick up from that just masterful set of hilarious riddles, we are going to be talking about the movie that's taken the horror world by storm. We're talking about 20 and 24's Longlegs, starring a whole host of people, but especially the great Nic Cage, as well as directed by Osgood Perkins, which I didn't realize comes from quite a pedigree, which we'll talk about here in a hot second. Spoiler, it's the other guy in horror that's last name's Perkins. I don't know why I acted like that was such a teaser. Anyway, I didn't realize that there was a relation there. Anyway, we'll talk about it here in a hot second. But we got a couple of things to do at the top of the show, like we always do in these son of a bitchin' mini-sodes. Guys, first of all, let's do a couple bevies. I've got some boring bevies, but I got 2 of them. Steve, what do you be drinking? Let me get my boring ass ones out of the way first. You saw me sipping on a protein shake. We're recording this on a Friday, just after work, about 6:30. So I try to squeeze in a little workout. I've been really slacking. I've been on this here, weight loss kind of journey here, exercising, trying to eat right, stuff like that. 4th of July week, drank a bunch of beer. Then last week on vacation, drank a fuckload of beer. And then earlier this week, I was in Atlanta doing beer education stuff, drank a whole fuckload more beer. So I've just been not exercising and drinking a shitload of beer. So I said, boy, I got to get myself back on track here. So I squeezed in like my first week at workout in like 5 days. So I'm drinking a little protein shake, which is not that interesting.
Now, you're talking about all the beers you're drinking, but I'm hearing a hot dog holiday, a hot dog vacation, and a barbecue your weekender or whatever it was.
I actually did all those things. Yes. Yeah. I made homemade hot dog chili for 4th of July, ate a bunch of hot dogs, made smash burgers, ate those, then went to a vacation where I ate more hot dogs. I ate wings 2 times. I ate more burgers. Yeah. And then when I was down in Atlanta, ate some fucking barbecues.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I was also just aggressively drinking through that entire time too, which I think is what kind of just makes you feel bad more than anything.
Oh yeah.
And just bloated and just not feeling great. So, getting back on the, I've been running a fucking muck, so I'm getting back on it. And I'm probably going to drink some more beers tonight, because after we record this, it's Joe Bob Friday. So I'm definitely going to be watching Joe Bob and probably drinking about fucking 8 beers during that. So to get my energy up, to get my caffeine up, I'm also sipping on a little Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, you guys, which I've decided do not like it as much as Diet Coke.
Yeah.
I don't it just isn't as good.
Yeah, something about it is not, I don't know. All the Zero products I don't like.
See, I don't mind. You know me and my love affair with Squirt Zero.
Yeah.
And I do have some 7-Up Zero in the fridge too. I don't mind that, but the Zero Colas and the Zero root beer, although I'll tolerate the Zero root beer, the Zero Colas, I don't fuck with them.
They're not great. Something's bad about them. And I also, I've had the Baja Blast Zero. and those are bad too.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Where do you is that a Taco Bell situation?
No, I think I actually got it at a gas station because now Baja Blast is Irv or.
Oh, I see. I don't keep up with the Mountain Dew. Ever since I stopped playing Call of Duty, I don't keep up with the Mountain Dew. I'm just kidding. I don't know what. It just seems like they go hand in hand. But no, I thought that was exclusive to the Taco Bell. So that's big news for me. I'm behind the 8 ball here. Steve, what are you drinking on?
I am also drinking something boring. I had hopes. I had hopes, and then they were dashed. So about 5 years late, I'm drinking my first cold IPA. And
is this really your first one?
I think it is, as far as I know. Yeah, because
how the hell did you avoid them that long?
I don't know. I just don't drink enough, and I stopped drinking IPAs for a long time, and like switched to being almost exclusively like sours and stouts for a while. Mm-hmm. So I have not been drinking a lot of IPAs. Because I don't remember what episode it was, but you can recall that I had a 3 Floyds zombie ice on an episode.
I remember that, yeah.
And I thought it was a cold IPA, but it wasn't. It was just like a doubled up version of their regular zombie dust. So
it was ice in the sense that it was not cold brewed, cold filtered.
Right.
It was ice in the sense that it's just a stronger version, like Bud Ice kind of situation. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, so I have my first cold IPA. I got it from a fucking middling brewery that already, so I don't know why I expected anything, but it's like I gave them a chance. I was like, what did you guys do with this style? But I picked up just simply the cold IPA from Ellicottville, and it's just a 5.7 IPA. I was expecting it to be like crisp and clean.
Should be.
It's not.
I mean, it could be just explained by the fact that it's Ellicottville, and they are, as you said, very middling at best. That might be generous.
I think they have some good stuff in the stout realm. But
that's just not my. They're big chewy bitchin' stouts. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, but that's why I would call them middling. They have good stuff in the stout realm. Anything I've had that wasn't like a stout or like a goof ass gimmick beer has been just kind of and this is right down that way. Like, it looks like a Victory Dirt Wolf, but is only 5.7. So I don't know. And there's nothing like really like specifically clean about it. I was expecting like a really hoppy Helles is when I hear it, like either a Helles or a Pilsner or like an Italian Pilsner that's super hopped. That's what I'm expecting when I hear this cold IPA bullpucky.
It should be highly attenuated, really crisp. Yeah, that sort of thing. And I think people have gotten away from what it originally was because now cold IPAs and IPLs and all that stuff have just become, and dry IPAs and all that stuff have just all become very muddled together. Right.
Yeah.
The fucking wheels are off. Of beer styles. Everything is everything and everything is nothing. Nothing is nothing. So what you're saying is it's pretty meh, pretty middle of the road.
Like your average drinker, which includes me, cannot tell the difference between this and any other fucking IPA. There is no, and especially like we were just saying, like how it looks. You're saying it's supposed to be highly attenuated, but look how fucking murky that shit is.
Yeah, it should be a little crisper, a little cleaner. It should be, typically speaking, pretty well like lagered beer too, like well conditioned for an IPA. And that just looks like some dog shit hazy IPA. So
it looks like any fucking homebrew IPA that you get, and it tastes like it too. Like there's no super distinct hop flavor on it either. So.
Fart.
Yeah, big fart.
Well, guys, the bevy situation is a real fucking flop this week. But guess what? We got a fun ass movie to talk about here. So hopefully that'll make up for it. But just wait a goddamn second. We got a couple of things we got to do still. First of all, I do want to remind y'all as we get into what at least the audience pick is going to be for our August Showdown episode and remind all what your August Showdown topic is and all that sort of stuff. If you want to get involved with helping us pick topics, voting on topics, suggesting topics that go on that spinny ass old wheel that we use to choose our Showdown topic for each Showdown episode the first week of every month, go on over there to any of those social media accounts and type in Halloween is Forever. You see a little pixelated pumpkin guy that Steve made. That's us. Follow us. Slide in the old DMs. Give us some suggestions. Comment. Post. Do whatever. All that sort of good stuff is fun if you want to help us out. Also, if you want to write us a fucking review on the social medias at Spotify or the Apple Podcasts, or wherever the hell you're listening to those podcasts, if you write us a review, you give us 5 stars or however many fucking stars they allow you to give us, and then you shoot me a DM and you say, hey, I wrote your review over on that site. I'll send you some fucking stickers in the mail, some Halloween is Forever stickers in the mail, maybe even a little spooky Halloween treat as we get a little closer to spooky season as well. If you play your cards or if you're good little boys and ghouls, I'll send you some fun stuff in the mail. Now, if you'll recall, before last week's episode, you, our social media friends and listeners, voted on what you wanted the August Showdown topic to be. The topic that won was Blood Beach, which is to say, beach horror movies that have to do with a beach or set at a beach, around a beach, that sort of thing. We did say it's got to be beach related. There's got to be at least some prominent beachage, featured in the movie. It can't just be something on the seaside. It can't just be something that happens in the sea, right? This is beach we're talking about, okay? Mm-hmm. So that being said, we're starting our new format this coming month in August. As we've discussed, it's going to be me versus Steve versus the patrons on patreon.com. That is one of the things that you get when you decide to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Halloween is Forever. We got some other stuff we'll talk about here in a dang second, but we got some suggestions from our lovely patrons, some of which are in the chat here in the Discord while we're recording live and hanging out with us here in the Discord. So we always appreciate yins over here. Steve and I are going to pick our movies next week, but as a little teaser, as a little wet your whistle, because we have 5 months, not 5 months, 5 Mondays in the month of July. We'll have the Patreon pick happen today, and then Steve and I will pick ours for next week, because it may affect ours, because we're always going to give the first pick to our patrons. So that being said, Steve, tell us what ended up on the wheel for the patron picks, and then let's spin that sumbitch and see what the patron pick is.
So the patrons, they had some pretty interesting picks. They had one that I didn't think about that I might take if it doesn't come up.
I hope it's not the same one I was going to pick. I have a top 2 decided on. Yeah. I will say that.
Yeah. But like Dan, he came up with The Lighthouse. And,
yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, ooh, I didn't really think about it, but now I'm thinking about it.
I didn't think about that either. Yeah. I know. I love that movie. I didn't think about it either. Good pick, Dan.
And then we had a number of patrons pick the same movie.
Okay.
And so there's a good chance that's what's going to come up.
Okay.
But yeah, so we can just spin it.
Well, okay. Well, we'll go ahead and spin it, and then we'll see what it is then. How's that?
Yeah.
I was going to say, what was that one that they all shared? I have a feeling I know what it is, but we'll see.
So it is that movie.
Is it something by one Mr. John Carpenter?
It is not the one by John Carpenter.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be The Fog. All right, so, what is it?
That did come up on the patron chat as well, though, because it might have been Dan who brought this up, but Dan said he wanted to pick The Fog, but he thought there might be like a Meg Rail kind of gentleman's agreement to not put that one up there.
Yeah.
And so then he offered up The Lighthouse.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. We did not talk about Meg Rails around The Fog. I'll be honest with you, I considered The Fog. The only one we really did was Jaws has already been done in the past, so we didn't have to do that. And we did kind of talk about a gentleman's agreement, not necessarily a Meg Rail, but not to pick Humanoids from the Deep, because we both really like that movie a lot, and we felt like it would be kind of fishing with dynamite. But maybe that's a beach joke. All right, well, what is it then? Because now I'm surprised. Now I'm eager to learn.
So this movie comes from 2015, and it was submitted under both titles: because it's been on cable, but it's also been on Tubi and it's everywhere. It is The Sand, aka Blood Sand. Have you seen this one?
No, This is out of left field for me. Not only have I not seen it, but I'm so surprised to learn that multiple people on from Patreon picked this.
Yeah, it is it is one of the most beach films because it occurs all on the beach. It's about people who kind of get stranded on like rocks on the sand.
Okay.
And like there's something underneath the sand that drags them down.
Oh, this is sounding more familiar. I don't know that I've seen it, but it is sounding more familiar now that you say this. But no, I don't know that I've seen it. Whoa, it's just exciting. I'm excited for this one. I thought this would be a lot of familiar movies that I've seen 100 times, but this is exciting because I don't think that I have. Well, that's fun. That was not on my list. Steve, was that on your list?
I was aware of it.
Yeah.
But I had seen this movie and I had seen it drunk. So it's like a movie I would have to go back. Like I remember it has some parts to it that are pretty like memorable.
Sure. But
then I just like I was too drunk to like make a good decision about it. So
sure. Listen, been there, guys. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
All right, fun stuff. So The Sand / Blood Sand from 2015 will be our Patreon pick. And that means that Steve and I will get to choose our topic for Blood Beach Showdown for August next week during the Minisode. So before we get into our feature presentation, if you will, Longlegs, let's talk real quick about Patreon and some of the other things. Tell them what else you get besides being able to help pick the showdown topic and pick one of the movies in the showdown. Tell the boys and ghouls what other cool stuff we got going over there on Patreon.
Well, you'll also get to pick the punishment film if you're a patron, and the patrons win next month, so you'll be able to pick punishment film. Then we also get you also get a bunch of reviews and recos on there, and like we already mentioned, you get to be in the Discord while we record. We just have Ron mentioning that the sand sounds like Tremors Beach Vacation. You're not terribly wrong by that. That is, it very much is Beach Vacation, and it very much
things
is
under the sand.
Yeah, it's
now is Kevin Bacon in it?
No, Kevin Bacon is not in it. Sorry, can't help that. But yeah, so you get all that, and then also you get exclusive monthly podcasts. You get the backlog of Family is Forever, the Fast and Furious podcast, and you get the new one, Youth Group is Forever, the Christian horror podcast.
Yeah, where we talk about some weird Christian horror kind of propaganda films. But we talk about how this series, most of the episodes have a lot to do with what you're about to go to hell for, right? We talked about a movie, first of all, called Blood Pageant, which was a whole bunch of things you're going to go to hell for, doing any type of if you believe in anything else that isn't Jesus, positive self-talk, crystals, whatever, you're going straight to hell, fiery pits of hell. If you talk bad about your grandma's cooking, or even if you suggest that you prefer other foods besides your grandma's cooking, you go to hell. We also talked about a movie, which again, really barely can call a movie, that is called The Lock-In, which is about if you look at porn, you go to hell. If you look at naked pictures of fellow human beings, you go to hell.
Somehow you actually go to hell in a church.
You do. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You're going straight to hell in the church. This one I really like because we're getting meta right now. And this movie is one of the more bonkers, just bits of media that I've ever seen. It's only about an hour, okay? But it feels like it's 70 hours, I'm going to say.
Oh, God.
It is called, from 1974, it is called The Burning Hell.
Oh, God.
And it is about you go to hell if you don't believe in hell. That's essentially what it is. The entire movie is about hell is real. And also, hell is fucking real. Like, that is the whole thing. It should be called Hell is Real, because the entire movie, really the only thing they talk about and then display and dramatize in alarmingly graphic detail is that hell is real. And if you don't believe in it, and you do not, of course, give your soul and everlasting love to your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, you are, of course, going to burn there. And the first step to doing that is first believing and being very, very, very scared of hell. So that's what the movie's about. There's no story to it. It's just a bunch of psychotic preachers screaming at you in a Southern accent, and then doing weird little dramatizations about people going to hell and being tortured in hell. So that's it. It's very fun. It's bizarre. It's like I said, to say it drags at points would be a wild understatement, but it's worth hanging out for some of the more bonkers parts. So we're going to have a lot of fun with The Burning Hell from 1974. I found this on YouTube. It does exist, I believe, solely on YouTube. And apparently a lot of people who grew up in the late 70s and throughout the 80s, and maybe even into the early 90s, were shown this movie in church and Bible school and Sunday school and stuff, and had very visceral reactions to it and were terrified by it. Sure. So it very much did its job. But of course, if you can imagine,
that's how indoctrination works. You show children terrifying images.
Bloody, gory. It's insane. And anyway, I don't want to spoil too much about it, but you're going to be really just pleased, pickled pink when you watch this, because it is one of the more bonkers bits of media that I have ever consumed with my brain. So that will be our next episode of Youth Group is Forever. So sign up for the Patreon, give us $5 a month. You get all that fun stuff that we already talked about.
Dan says CCD equals PTSD.
Yeah, it does. I didn't do CCD, but I did confirmation class, which is the Lutheran portion of CCD. And I was told that we actually had one time I remember the pastor talking to us and saying, all these things that like you think are harmless, but actually you'll end up going to hell as a result of it. And I was, in my early stages of my rebellious streak, maybe I was 11 or 12 years old, and I was just starting to get into skateboarding and the Misfits. Mm-hmm. And I wore like a Misfits shirt to Bible study. And there was a big conversation about an anonymous person who might be listening to music that's going to send them to hell. And hint, hint, they was talking about me. Wasn't that so?
LOL.
And I remember I was just like, Danzig would not approve of this conversation.
Oh man, all this talk about hell. You'd think we were talking about Milwaukee over the past week.
Anyway, guys, let's get anything else, Steve, that we should be talking about at the top of the show that I might have forgot before we get into his long legs. This will be a little bit of a different discussion compared to what we normally do. We usually take a bunch of notes and talk about a bunch of different stuff. But like, we'll talk about that. We usually talk about, plot points and kind of go chronologically through the film, talk about scenes and plot points and that sort of stuff. We'll do that to a certain extent. But of course, this movie's in the theaters. So me and your boy Steve, we went we saw this movie in the theaters this week. So of course, we weren't going to sit there like dildos taking notes on our phone. Although I want to start off with a quick little anecdote here, and this is going to be old man yelling at cloud. But people have fucking lost their mind with movie theater etiquette. Yeah. It is bonkers. Yeah. And I usually go to the movies during the day. Like I'll go to an early matinee or something. There's nobody there. Mm-hmm. I went to a Thursday night screening of this, and I would say it was a half full theater. Like it was a pretty good showing.
Sure.
Motherfuckers done lost their minds with the, and I'm not talking about talking and screaming and stuff. I'm talking about with their fucking phones. Yeah. It's chaotic.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen Nightmare. Like somebody posted a video this week of going to a early screening of Maxine, and it was literally the entire crowd point because it was like an influencer premiere. And so it was literally the entire crowd pointing their phones at the screen with their lights on at the backlights pointed at the screen on. And it's like, that is nightmarish. How do you even watch the fucking movie that way?
So I'm usually like, listen, when I was a younger man, I would have a little bit of a temper and I would get upset with people. And I I had a habit of causing a scene, and I would yell at people and I would say, put your fucking phones down, and I would be a little confrontational in the movie theaters. But as I got a little older, I've mellowed out a little bit. Listen, I have children. I don't need to get shot by a psychotic stranger in the parking lot of a movie theater.
Right.
So I usually take a chill pill and just say, hey, these are dumb kids. They don't know how to act. So this is Friday. I went on Thursday night. I went last night. There was a whole row of like what looked like high school to college age bro-y looking dudes, right?
Yeah.
All the same haircut and baseball caps and shit like that, sitting in front of me. They were all on their phones periodically. I was in one of those theaters where you got the big reclining seats, that kind of recline back and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they were on their phones, people were on their phones, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, what the fuck? I'm kind of used to it. I'm like, I'm not going to make a scene. This is just like, it's a cultural thing, whatever. Then this one motherfucker down in front of me is laying as far back as the chair will allow him to. So he's in a fully reclined position. And he's holding his phone up above his head, playing like some crazy game with like lights and flashes and shit.
Oh my God.
And I let it go for like a good 15 minutes, but it was like taking me out of the movie. So I finally stood up and went behind him. I was like, hey man, if you're going to be on your phone, you got to hold it down lower. And he was like, oh, sorry. And he did. And he was fine. I was like, I appreciate it. I was nice about it. But then some other fucker behind me, she kept taking pictures with her flash on.
My God.
Like literally lighting up the whole thing. I was like, oh my God. Like the third time I turned around and just looked at her like, are you insane? I thought I was in like the fucking Twilight Zone. So I felt like really, really old. Like I was the oldest person. Like it was all teenagers probably.
Sure, yeah.
There was a couple like middle-aged couples there and stuff like that. But I just felt like the ornery old asshole that wanted to punch all the teenagers. But it was bonkers. It was fucking bonkers.
I mean, but like in a way, like you're right, because like even though we were bad, we were for sure bad when we went to theaters as kids too.
We would talk. Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like our talking was no more different than like other people talking in the theater. But like there's just something insane about breaking the darkness of the theater.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
That's what's insane to me is like you can't break the darkness. Like that's the whole.
It just takes you out of it. It draws your eye away from the screen. It just fucking sucks.
Like I don't want to be around that many people with like because I want to focus on a movie, especially a movie like this one where it's incredibly beneficial to be able to look at the screen and pay attention to it at all times.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, this was like such a visually involved movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, otherwise that's the only reason I said something to the kid. And like I said, I wasn't a dick to him and he was fine. And he did stay on his phone, but he just did what I asked him to, which was to keep it down around his waist,
I feel like that's what most people are nowadays, are just like incredibly unaware of what's going on around them. Yeah. But they're still like decent enough if you inform them, hey, you're bothering others.
Yeah, he wasn't a dick about it. And but anyway, I could go on and on. We'll get out of fucking old man corner with Brian and Steve. But anyway, so yeah, I went and saw the movie last night. You saw it earlier in the week or last weekend?
I saw it last weekend. I saw it last Friday. And then I definitely didn't rewatch it with a bunch of casino ads this week.
Yeah, I really want to see it again. So spoiler alert, I fucking love this movie. You didn't love it?
No, I was curious as to like, because this has been such a divisive film that like it feels like most people come down of either really loving it or really hating it. And so I was wondering, because I can see both sides. So I was wondering which side you would fall on.
Yeah, I'm confused. I'm not confused. I know why some people didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested to hear, because I remember you mentioned there was one plot point that you didn't love, and I think I know what it is, but I'm eager. I might be wrong, but I think I know what it is, and I'm eager to learn what about it you didn't like. But I think I know why people didn't like this, but we'll kind of get into it. We won't go through the whole plot synopsis because, again, we don't have notes, but we'll just kind of high level talk about some stuff here. And also, I did tease this for some odd reason at the top of the show, like maybe people don't know this, but Oz Perkins, who's the director and writer of this, is the son of Anthony Perkins of Psycho fame, obviously. And I think probably people know that. If you didn't, I didn't, then I thought that was kind of cool.
He actually got his start playing young Norman in Psycho 2.
Oh, cool. Okay. Didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Seems like a good guy. I read a couple interviews with him and stuff like that, kind of leading up to this. And so anyway, seems like an interesting director and a very, I will say, candid in terms of like his strengths and weaknesses as a director. And like, he doesn't feel like the kind of guy who acts like he's, God's gift to horror or anything. He's just like,
right.
Fuck, I'm trying to make a movie that looks good and, piece it together in the editing room kind of thing. And he did a great job of that. But
yeah,
this stars Maika Monroe, which I think most people would know from It Follows. She played Jay in It Follows. She was also in that movie, which I don't have up right now. The movie that was basically, it was very Rear Window-y. Remember, it was like on Netflix maybe a couple of years ago. Watcher, which I really liked. Yeah. That really great kind of. Really, it was very Rear Window.
It's Rear Window. It's Rear Window in an Eastern European country. Like it's
yeah.
I don't completely love that movie, but it does have like a really cool visual style to it. So like I still suggest a lot of people watch it because like there is good things about it. I don't really love it because it just feels so much like a just kind of a remake in a way of that. But yeah,
it is. Yeah, it is to a certain extent. If I recall, there was kind of a fun twist, but again, I only watched it the one time. I remember when it first hit streaming. But anyway, also Blair Underwood plays a great supporting role as well. Many of you would know Blair Underwood. I mean, great kind of supporting actor type guy that's been in just about, he's got some starring roles too, but you've been in just about everything. Deep Impact, we just talked about. He was in Rules of Engagement. He's been in stuff since the early 90s. Fantastic performer. And then, of course, as we mentioned, the great Nic Cage with a fucking, as far as I'm concerned, a fantastic performance for a really weird fucking villain, which we'll talk about. And I didn't say it, but maybe it goes without saying, I thought Maika Monroe had a fucking fantastic performance. I thought everyone was. I thought it was great performances across the board here. So, also, so I'll read the really.
Also,
go ahead.
Alicia Witt, who plays her mother in this.
Oh yes, I forgot to mention her. Yeah, she's great as well. Really weird, affected type of performance there that I liked a lot as well. So this is the very quick plot synopsis. In pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent, played by Maika Monroe, uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end his, which is Nicolas Cage's character, the character,
the titular Longlegs,
terms himself Longlegs, terrifying killing spree, which is kind of misleading, but I think on purpose. So this movie, I will say, this was kind of my take on it. I think a lot of people who don't like it either thought they were getting a slasher or thought they were getting like a crime, like a serial killer movie, right? They thought they were getting Zodiac, and then you start going into the movie and it is heavily not just influenced, but I would almost say it's simultaneously an homage and a kind of taken the piss out of a like 90s serial killer thriller type of thing.
Yeah.
Like very specifically Silence of the Lambs. Like it is obviously does not pull any punches when it comes to it's like being referential to Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. Like
and Seven.
Yeah, and Seven a little bit. But like, yeah, definitely Silence of the Lambs, and you can feel it in Nic Cage's performance in that, like, he is absolutely playing two characters, and one of them is Buffalo Bill, and the other is Tiny Tim from Blood Harvest.
Yeah, he's playing Blood. It's so I'm glad you said that. I knew that wouldn't get back. Yes, absolutely feels like Tiny Tim's character from Blood Harvest. And then I think not his character necessarily, but like the themes around his character and ultimately the kind of occult supernatural element of it, which I think a lot of people weren't expecting, really reminds me of a lot of X-Files episodes too. This really reminded me of the X-Files in a lot of ways too.
Or maybe even Millennium.
Perhaps even Millennium. Hard-hitting bit of commentary there. I like the idea that so I think that's why people didn't like it. And also it didn't explain much, which I think like a modern audience. So let me take a step back. This movie has kind of caught the attention of the mainstream.
Yeah.
For one reason or another. I think because it's just so fucking weird and off-putting. It's
weird. It's also very good. So I think just word of mouth carries it. And then it had a very different marketing, program that went through. And like the marketing was so sparse and so weird. It purposely didn't show you Nic Cage ever. It showed you a bunch of side characters who weren't Maika Monroe. And so like you got all these little tidbits, and then it had like a phone call you could call, or a phone number you could call and get a weird message from that.
Oh, I didn't hear about this. That's fun.
Oh yeah. They had so much weird stuff. And then just the entire, like the first teasers that came out all had the weird message to be decoded. Like all the weird language that Longlegs writes in.
Yeah.
You could decode that for messages. And so like when you get audiences involved, they get more interested in what you're showing them. And then like they made a movie that people wanted to go see. Whereas in comparison, also running right now is, and I think you probably saw the trailer for it at the head of the film, is Speak No Evil. It's literally just been that one trailer. And that trailer, I don't know if you saw like the European original of that film.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe I did.
Yeah. So they literally show you everything that happens in that trailer, except for the last 10 seconds, I think. Like,
really? Yeah. I did kind of get the feeling when I watched that trailer, although the trailer for, Nosferatu came up before it, so I was just all boned up for that. It did seem really, it did feel like they gave away the entire movie. Like I knew everything it was about. I knew I could almost tell you the plot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Having seen that trailer. So yeah, that's great to hear. And I knew that it had some, it was pretty heavily marketed. Because I was late to see it, I have been actively avoiding any and all marketing and trailers for Longlegs just because I didn't want to spoil anything. So I did not catch that stuff, but that's great. And so, I mean, my point was the reason that I was mentioning that it has caught the kind of mainstream attention is I think that has to do a little bit why it's getting like mixed reviews is because this is like, I don't want to say a made for genre fans. I think it's just made to be a weird, unique, differentiating movie. But I think I read a quick article with a very fast, actually let's do a podcast too, with like a 5-minute interview with Maika Monroe and Oz Perkins. And essentially Oz Perkins said like, it's so hard to get people's attention in the horror genre right now. You got to do some wild shit to get people's attention.
Yeah.
And so I was out to do that. I had a script that I really liked and I had a character that I really liked. And, we figured out how to, piece them together in a way that we thought was going to be really different and eye catching. And like you said, by the way, it's a really fun, wild movie and really well done, but there's a lot of ambiguity and the mainstream fucking smooth fish brain audience that watches all the Fast and the Furious movies needs shit fucking explained to them. And this movie, I thought, explained more even than they should. Maybe
that's what I thought. That's my one sticking point of like what I don't quite love is
the exposition from the mom.
Yeah, is it just explained a little bit too much and wasn't ambiguous enough. But like when I was feeling that way, I went and looked and I saw some people commenting that they really needed that exposition scene. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Okay, Steve, I had to go pick up fucking 50 cases of beer today and take them to a golf course for a golf outing, right? That I was, for work. So I'm doing that. And on the way, I listened to a podcast. It was not a horror movie podcast, it was just a movie podcast. And I was like, I just want to see what people are saying about this movie.
Yeah.
And this was a big movie podcast with people who are supposed to be experts and are, have big sponsors. And this is what they do is for a living, right? These fucking morons could not figure out what was happening in this movie. And here's my way belabored point that I was getting to is that these fucking people, they don't watch horror movies. They certainly don't watch weird, satanic, demonic horror movie shit. They don't know about weird, themes in weird demonic movies. They don't read fucking occult detective novels.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
So all this shit is like a foreign language to them. Whereas to you and me, and I think a lot of the people who really love this movie, were like, this could be a fucking Laird Barron story. This could be a Clive Barker story easily. This is an occult detective story.
Oh, you're right. This is so close to being a Clive Barker. Like if it just has to open like a door to hell and it's a Clive Barker.
Yeah. And it needs to be a little bit hornier to be Clive Barker.
Yeah.
And and like, maybe it needs to be, now it's set in the Pacific Northwest. And a lot of this was shot in Vancouver. So that's why I said Laird Barron. But otherwise it's a little too procedural for Laird Barron. But this is an occult detective novella put on a screen.
Yeah.
And done really well and has all the ambiguity and has all the mystery. And so it starts out and you're watching it and you're going, oh, this is Silence of the Lambs. And even so much so, and I believe it's intentional, is Maika Monroe's character has tons of shades of Jodie Foster.
Oh, yeah, so much. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like Jodie Foster. And I don't mean this, I'm not trying to say this to be derogatory or funny. It's like if Jodie Foster was like mildly autistic.
Oh, yeah.
Jodie Foster's character is like mildly autistic, like functionally autistic. That's what the character is.
Because
obviously it's very much on purpose.
Yeah, because Maika is like, she is way more flat than Jodie Foster. Like Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs, she has all of her emotions. Like, even though she tries to tamp them down, you can still see flashes of them. Like, you see when she's nervous around Hannibal Lecter. You see when she's nervous even just going into the asylum. You see when she's nervous around the FBI director or, like, the guy who's above her. And she's trying to...
Sure.
But then, like, she's
intimidated.
Yeah. But also she has, like, some, she has levity about her. Like, when she's around her... I think it's her roommate. That, like, she has a roommate that at the FBI headquarters that she shares a couple scenes with him. So there's like a little bit of levity there, but Maika Monroe has like no emotions, and every close up of her is so fucking fantastic because you see like the way she curls her lips or the way
I was just about to say her facial control is so impressive.
Yeah. She curls her lips or her like neck like strains in a way because she is tamping down everything. Like she from the first time we meet her, she is white knuckling this entire movie because she is trying to hold some sort of emotion in. And like it's fantastic. Just probably one of the best performances of trying to not put emotion out. Like it's so weird.
It is. I can't even imagine how to do it. I mean, I'm not an actor, obviously, but it's such a foreign concept to me. It's like someone, running like a 4240. Like it's just something that I would be, it's so impossible for my body and brain to do. But yeah, she is, she's giving that performance. We're seeing a lot of those types of themes that you think this is going to be a serial killer crime thriller from 1995. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And then so this is why I said it's like an homage in a certain way, because it is unabashedly biting off of some of that style. But then it takes a hard ass left turn, and it turns into an occult, supernatural, occult, demonic, occult detective story. And so all of the little cutesy things that you are doing as a, Jodie Foster's doing in Silence of the Lambs, or Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are doing in Seven or something, where it's like, hey, we're going to figure it out and it's us versus them and all that stuff. You quickly realize that all that cutesy shit doesn't fucking matter when you're fighting when you're trying to, you can't put the devil in jail.
Right.
You know what I mean? So pretty quickly it's like, oh, all this stuff that she thought she was really working towards figuring this out. No, this is an unfixable fuck. And that's what happens in a lot of these occult detective stories is the protagonist is, you're so fucking smart, aren't you? Nope, you're going to hell, bitch. Yeah. Or no, you just got eaten by a goddamn cosmic monster or something. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
just like Hellraiser Inferno.
Yeah, exactly like Hellraiser Inferno. Yeah. So this is, we'll talk about some of the big plot points here, but like ultimately, I want to talk about some of our favorite scenes too. And this is the first one where you get introduced to, but you do not fully understand the strangeness of the character of Longlegs, the serial killer that is kind of, he's very much supposed to be a John Doe type, or I don't even know if I would say Hannibal Lecter, because he's not that like intellectual by any means. No. In fact, in this movie, he's like a fucking just a schlubby piece of shit. And he's like that. This is what I like about it, is they're kind of setting him up to be like this John Doe Hannibal Lecter thing. And then you quickly realize that, no, he's just a schlubby piece of shit who made a deal with the devil.
Yeah, that's why I didn't.
He's just a puppet.
Yeah, that's why I said Buffalo Bill. He's much more like Buffalo Bill, because Buffalo Bill,
you're right,
had like his singular mind of like he's gonna build a woman suit to transform into a woman, and like that's his ultimate goal. Whereas like Longlegs is like, I'm gonna do this overcomplicated fucking thing to release the devil or whatever. But Buffalo Bill is still just like a lazy dressmaker, like just a weird pervert dressmaker. And Longlegs is this like heavy metal dork who like is a doll maker. He's super into T-Rex and making dolls. Yeah, like they have like these. That's what makes these characters great, is like they have these such humanistic things underneath them that make them losers, but they also cross the lines into super evil. Like Hannibal Lecter is like unassailable because he's always going to be smarter than you, and like he has no. Yeah,
Hannibal Lecter is the devil,
right? He has.
Whereas this guy's a pawn of the devil.
Yeah, like Hannibal Lecter has no faults. He's always just going to one up you and like, haha, I've got you now. Whereas like. Longlegs is like, I'm gonna go to the store. Cuckoo. That girl yelled at me. And like,
now I'm mad. Yeah.
He has a freak out in a car because a girl called her dad. Like, Dad, that weird pervert's back.
Meanwhile, he's being a weird pervert.
Right.
Like, he wasn't like you were being cool. Also, I heard in that brief interview that is Oz Perkins' daughter that plays the clerk.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
It was just a fun little tidbit there. So he's, it's a little, there is a little bit of some like meta fourth wall breaking things in this movie too, which are kind of fun. And that's why that like, it's like set up like those types of, Seven or Silence of the Lambs. And then all of a sudden it's kind of, again, like almost in a way taking the piss out of those movies too. You know what I mean? Anyway, that initial scene where we get set up, and you know, obviously we've throw out some spoilers already, but we're gonna really throw spoilers out. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, you know, be aware that we're gonna spoil the living shit out of there. And there are some fun surprises in this movie. So one of the first scenes, or it really is the first scene, you find you know, just a car rolling up on like a house in a rural environment. It's January, snow on the ground. There's a girl watching the car pull up to her house. She walks outside. No one's there. You get a really cool little well-edited scene where you see this creepy fucking guy. You don't get a good look at him. Peek out from behind the house. Like, you, like, he makes like, he speaks with this very like falsetto type of voice, which is a really fun, I guarantee, Nicolas Cage decision, right?
Sure.
To speak like that. And he pops out and starts talking to this little girl, looks to be 10, 12 years old. And the way the character of Longlegs speaks throughout the movie, everything is a weird mix of nonsense mixed with like demonic, like occult symbolism and suggestion.
Right.
And you don't know what's silly, fun nonsense and what is devil talk. You know what I mean? Which is really cool.
Yeah. It is also just little tinges of heavy metal rock lyrics. Because, and again, it just adds to that notion that his character had these dreams of being a rock star, but yeah, he's too much of a fucking weird loser to ever do that.
Yeah, and so there's some stuff that isn't explained here. So there's some jumps in logic, and then there's some other things like that is very apparent. And like these dildos on this other podcast I was listening to, like this amount of face level stuff that went over their heads makes me want to write a bad review on their podcast, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not a dick. But I'm just like, you guys are fucking stupid.
You can still write a sternly worded letter of like, how did you not get this?
I ain't got time for that shit. But anyway, this guy goes, so yeah, you clearly see between the way that he dresses, between like the fact that he will just on a couple of occasions, at least one occasion, he just bursts into like a falsetto, fucking Ronnie James Dio, like a solo, singing solo during one of his dialogues. And the fact that they literally show him in his weird little psycho den, and there's like posters of like rock stars and models and shit on his wall. So he's got this like delusion that he wants to be more than he is. And once we do see his face, he has got a very bizarre look to him. He's very puffy. He's got what looks like just horribly botched plastic surgery. Yeah. Right. Long, stringy, wavy hair. You know, you can tell he's trying to pull off this like Robert Plant type of thing. And then his face is just like pancake powder makeup put all over his face. Right. So he obviously has these issues with his looks. And I took it as, and I'm interested to see if you picked up on this as well, or if you at least share in this assumption, is that the way he got to that, looking the way he does, is most likely as a result of his deal with the devil, right? So we learn later, again, I'm jumping quite a bit forward, but this girl that he meets at the beginning, we don't know who she is. We ultimately learn that it was Maika Monroe's character, Lee. And basically what happens here is Longlegs is in league with the devil. Or at least a demon, which I guess the devil is a demon, Satan, whatever. He is in league with the devil. And what he does for the devil is he is a master puppet maker. So he makes these extraordinarily lifelike, life-size puppets of, is it 10-year-old girls? Roughly 10-year-old girls.
It's girls who are on the cusp of their 10th birthday, and he makes the dolls look like them.
Really lifelike, expert, like level doll making. That is his skill. And what he does is he plants these. It's not very much explained. It's explained, but it's not explained. The dolls are very lifelike, but they look like dolls, right? They don't look like people. They look like dolls that are meant to resemble somebody. They have these very lifelike eyes, and then they have a little metal sphere inside their head, like where their brain would be. We don't know where that comes into play. We don't know what it is. We ultimately come to realize that something to do with something that is put inside or bestowed upon this little metal ball inside their head that's maybe the size of a tennis ball has dramatic effects on the girl that the doll is gifted to, as well as their entire family, which ultimately results in typically the father or one of the parents, but typically the father of the family, murdering the entire family and killing themselves. So this has happened something like 10 times at this point throughout, because ultimately it gets to 13. There's all this numerological demonology stuff that plays into it that they eventually uncover. But this has happened. This kind of family annihilation thing has happened something like 10 times. And the killer or somebody linked to all of these cases is someone who leaves these very cryptic letters with this like cipher attached to it, and these messages that they have not been able to decode, that calls himself Longlegs. The most bizarre part that they can't really get past is that Longlegs is not there. There's no evidence that anybody named Longlegs ever is on site or does any of the killing. It's always the family that kills. It's a family annihilator / suicide situation. But what does Longlegs have to do with this? Longlegs doesn't appear to be doing the killing, but he's obviously involved in some capacity.
Yeah, he knows that happen, and then can he sends, he's taunting the police much like the Zodiac does.
Yes,
but he's not there.
Yeah, correct. He's not physically there. But we do come to learn that essentially he is making these dolls that have some sort of, specifically this brain component to them. They call it the brain. It's not really a brain, but it's in the head. Has some sort of component that influences the family to go wild and, ends up in their ultimate demise. So the other kind of big element to that we discover later is that Lee, her mother, is, at first we figure, is either suffering from some degree of mental illness, or perhaps is some sort of insane religious zealot, or a combination of both, because she's talking about saying her prayers and she just is a figure that exists only on the telephone with Lee. And then eventually we meet her in person, and she's kind of this like hoarder woman. And we ultimately come to learn that essentially what happens is, and the reason I'm spelling this out is because there's some interesting questions that I'm going to discuss, tied into like certain plot points here. But ultimately what happens is we learn that Lee's mother has been helping Longlegs and is basically his accomplice, not to kill the families, but to deliver these dolls. And she generally does it in the guise of she is a nun or a nurse from a church or a nunnery, but she was a nurse by trade. But she dresses up like a nun, shows up to houses and says, "Hey, you want a prize? It's this doll for your daughter."
Yeah.
They take the doll into the house. The daughter loves the doll, and then either pretty damn quickly, or at the very least over the course of, less than a week, the family's dead.
Yeah.
Usually the dad goes crazy, axes everybody, but sometimes other stuff happens, that sort of thing.
What a great metaphor for her coming up to the house dressed as a nun and saying, "This is a gift from the church." And the idea of a gift from the church is what annihilates your family, is what causes all the strife in your life, is actually taking in the church. That's such a great metaphor for like religious trauma and shit like that. I love it.
And she says it exactly like that. You won a contest. This is a gift from the church. That's like and she says that line multiple times, and they show her when they finally reveal this is what's happening, and she shows it happening, or shows like the carnage that results from it. So that's essentially what is happening behind the scenes. Obviously, as the audience, we're kind of learning along with Lee here. The thing that I think pissed people off, and that I'm really interested to learn, like what you thought about it, is what is the relationship? So I should mention one other thing I kind of forgot to mention. When Longlegs comes to their house, when he's just kind of doing the killing, maybe perhaps on his own, or he's going to take the daughter or something. When Lee is little, Lee's mother begs for her daughter's life and ultimately makes a deal with the devil that I will help Longlegs. I will be his facilitator. I will take the dolls. I will be his Trojan horse, if you will, into these homes with the dolls, if you spare my daughter. The devil accepts this deal and says, you have to continue doing this as long as I say, essentially till I complete my my circuit, if you will, until I complete my 13 murders or whatever. There's some sort of, again, demonology, occult numerology that's happening, that the devil wants to complete this ritual for devil reasons, right? The devil does stuff for devil reasons, to mock God,
because he's bored.
To grow his power, his influence, just devil reasons, right? We don't, that's all, I think, a fair assumption. But basically they say, if you stop doing this, you and your daughter, they had basically offered up their soul in a Faustian deal, in a dang old deal with the devil. If the mama stops doing it, both her and her daughter, they die and they're going to hell for all eternity. They're burning in hell, right? And of course, the mom doesn't want that to happen to her daughter. And also, I'm sure there's a degree of self-preservation there. And she continues to help Longlegs throughout the years, throughout the decades. Now, we come to learn Longlegs refers to both himself and the devil as Mr. Downstairs, which I thought was a great word, great name for the devil.
Does he refer to himself as Mr. Downstairs, though? Because I feel like he doesn't.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he did, because he is literally Mr. Downstairs. We come to learn later.
Yeah, he literally is Mr. Downstairs. But so in one of those flashbacks, when that's expanded upon his meeting with young Lee and the mom, he's explaining, I take all my orders from my friend, Mr. Downstairs. And they say, downstairs where? And he's like, downstairs to everywheres. And it's like, it's such a great line delivery and just great line.
Yeah.
Like, it's a combination of good writing and line delivery. That's just like, ugh, what a creep. What a scum.
I know. It's such a great line. Every time he speaks, it's so unnerving. But yeah, I thought later on he did, but I could be wrong about that.
I don't.
But he does live down. He ultimately, part of this agreement is he lives downstairs from Lee's, in Lee's mom's house, and does his doll making down there. So she kind of protects him and facilitates his work. So what my assumption was is way around, but now that we've kind of got some of that explanation out of the way, my assumption was that, not unlike the deal, right? This is how the devil gets people in his mortals in league with him, is making deals with them, either preying on their desperation, or preying on their naivete, or preying on their materialism or whatever, right? And he makes deals with them, And when you make a deal with the devil, no matter how good it sounds, he's going to deceive you. He's going to fuck you over. So obviously, in this instance, he's really got Mrs. Harker, Lee's mom. He's really got her over a barrel here because he owns their souls. I took it as he made a deal with Longlegs to, whatever, make him beautiful or make him a star or whatever he thought he needed to be who he wanted to be. A singer, a musician, a star, whatever. And that's ultimately how he got the way he looks.
Yeah. He probably said some dumb shit like, I want alabaster skin and, a head like Jimmy Page. And like he got like a giant Jimmy Page head, except for it doesn't fit his body. And, alabaster isn't the good description. So he monkey pawed himself with asking for alabaster skin instead of just saying like perfect skin or something like that.
Yeah. Or I took it as like he got like, if only I had $100,000 to get plastic facial reconstructive surgery, like that would make me happy. And then he gave him, the money and whatever. And then this is how it fucking ended up, because that's what a Faustian deal is, right?
Or it could be, and this is what I like about the film, is how ambiguous it can be if you remove just a couple elements. I would have liked this film more if it was more ambiguous and you just couldn't nail it down completely, because so the arrangement he has with the mom and the daughter, Harker, that could be a deal with the devil, or it could simply just be like a weird trauma that develops into Stockholm syndrome. And that could just be happening because there have been those weird captive family situations. We've seen them. So
sure. Oh, you mean the mom is willingly helping?
Yeah. Because she fully believes that she and her daughter will die. So she just helps in that. And then over the years, her mind gets twisted into believing that, she is in league with the devil.
Yeah.
It could be that. And because we don't fully see Longlegs' origin story, because we don't see that, we don't see him make a deal with the devil. We don't know what he asked for. We don't know what he was before this. So he could have, like you're saying, he could have entered into a pact with the devil and gotten monkey pawed on his deal. Or he could have been like a fucked up guy who won 30 grand on a scratcher, thinking the devil is on his side, and spent it on dog shit plastic surgery. There's like a whole bunch of steps of things that could have happened to this guy. Or maybe he just was always fucked up and, entered in a pact with the devil that if he completes this triangle that he's making, then he gets his reward.
Yeah. See, I like that there was a real supernatural element and showed the devil. Like, first of all, really cool image of the devil. It's a like extremely dark, shrouded figure with like eyes that are just barely visibly glowing below the shroud, which was really cool. And then you see the connection with the eyes and the dolls too. Anyway,
or sometimes you do get like a full horned devil. That's like in the shadows.
Like when they look outside and shit. It's like outside the back window.
Because he's like hidden. He's hidden because that's how he does. Yeah. And sometimes.
Yeah, he's always creeping around.
And this is the brilliance of just like the cinematography. I would like to talk a little bit more about the cinematography and framing and stuff. Like there is like a scene where Lee is like doing some detective work, and just outside the window, there are two like pale yellow lights that like they could be street lights, but also when you later see them as the eyes on the doll, that very well could just be the devil watching her as she does her detective work.
Ooh, I missed that. Now I want to see it. This is why I want to see this again, because like I try to keep an eye, because there's so many. Yeah, we'll talk about the cinematography here, but that's a great example of the reason why I really want to see it again. But just, I guess, putting a bow on my last point, the only reason I really like that there is a very clear cut and explained deal with the devil is because it sets up the ending in a way that I think if it was, it's pretty ambiguous, but I don't think it's remarkably ambiguous. I think it's ambiguous enough where it is maybe a little frustrating for people who like really want it explained to them. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was the perfect level of ambiguity, and I'll explain why. Like, I took it pretty clear cut at the end of the devil has set up the dominoes to fall in this way, and now the final killing that's going to complete the 13 murders or whatever, whatever devil shit the devil's doing. Yeah. He needs one more. This is the last one. And he has set it up, and he's been planning this perhaps since the very beginning of when he made the deal with Mrs. Harker, or at the very least since Lee has been 20 years old. Mm-hmm. Because there's a very telling phrase when Longlegs, in this fantastic interview scene, when he gives himself up, and I want to talk a little bit about why you think he gives himself up and everything, but because that's one thing that's a little bit, I'm not really sure what to think about that. But so after he gives himself up and they're interviewing him, he says, I'm paraphrasing, he says something along the lines of like, I remember when your 20th birthday, when you decided to go in law enforcement, and basically he says like, me and the devil had a real chuckle about that kind of thing. And that told me, at least from that point, this plan has been in motion. Yeah. We know Longlegs is going to run out of steam. This is also the other thing. I think a lot of people who didn't understand this and thought it was too vague, you gotta think like the devil, guys. Think like the damn devil. The devil loves to have people do his bidding. He's got to do that, right? Yeah. He only has limited power on Earth. So he's got Longlegs doing his bidding. He's got Mrs. Harker doing his bidding. Shit's starting to dry up. Longlegs is going to get caught. He knew back then that Mrs. Harker, who was helping Longlegs, and when already, and Lee, he knew Lee's sharp. He knows. Then Lee says she's going to get in law enforcement. He's like, well, damn, this little scheme I got going on here, days are numbered here, right? So he sets up the dominoes to fall in a way where ultimately Lee has to make the decision to finish the ritual, make the last kill for him, and then he has either her make the last kill for him, and then he can go on doing devil shit, or she has to make a deal for the little girl in the same way that the mom made a deal for her daughter. Right. And the whole thing at the end is she's standing there with the gun and she clicks it, whatever, because she's going to shoot the doll. But then she's like, okay, we got to go. But she's not going. She's waiting. Mm-hmm. And she's thinking, what the fuck am I going to do? Because if I don't kill this little girl, my mom just told me, and I believe all this shit now because I saw it happen. I saw the FBI boss man kill his wife, and then I had to shoot him. And then I shot my mom in the damn head. Mm-hmm. So if she ain't going to kill this little girl, so if I don't kill this little girl, I'm going to hell.
Right.
I'm going to burn in hell forever. And there's only, we're all fucking animals, right? There's only one thing in the world, whether it's animals or fucking more developed animals like humans, there's only one thing in the world that somebody cares more about than their own self-preservation. That's perhaps the preservation of their offspring, right? Mm. So that's out of the picture. So unless she's going to decide to preserve the life of that little girl and then probably have to make a deal with the devil because she ain't going to send herself to hell, or she is so either way she's fucked, right? So this is classic occult detective ending. Lee's fucked no matter what, and all of her little clever nonsense was for nothing, because guess what? Mama signed on that motherfucking dotted line and the devil's in charge, right? But like, I think obviously that deal had to be explicit for that ending to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The ambiguity is completely cut by the time you get to that end scene. And I'm okay. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with that if you just want to just like give up the ambiguity there. But I think you can put a little more ambiguity. And I had this vision of an alternate ending, and this is just me fucking throwing shit. It doesn't matter. Like, who cares what I say? But I thought it was a different way they could have framed this. Was when they're going back and forth, and after Lee has killed, her boss. Before I get to it, just like her boss being the one who gets possessed to kill his wife and everything. That is such a for sure. It's the devil now. Because he was such a non-believer up until that point, that the fact that he gets swayed so easily is like, oh yeah, it's definitely the devil now. But Rudy, the daughter, is going back and forth with the doll. Like, she keeps getting pulled away from the doll and then reattaching herself to the doll. And I thought there could have been just like a kind of a sly bit of framing, if they wanted to. After Lee shoots her mom's blood goes all over the back window.
Yeah.
If you frame this from outside the house and you have Lee with the doll or the daughter at her side, and she has the gun pointed at either the doll or the daughter on the couch and pulls the trigger, and you could use that blood stain to mask whether or not it was the doll or the daughter, and cut her head off of that frame. And I think that's another great way to just kind of preserve the ambiguity of like, did she pull the trigger on the doll or did she pull the trigger on the daughter? It's like, is she trying to break her pact with Satan, or is she trying to, like avoid that? And I was like, I thought that would have been fun and interesting, but whatever. It's not my fucking movie.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I think that would have more clearly illustrated to I think people would have liked the ending more if that was it, because I think the fact that she just stood there with the gun at the end and like was like, let's go, and then was like non-decisive about what she was doing. I think people didn't get that she was now coming to the realization that she had to kill the little girl.
And I think there's
or make a deal with the devil or something, but like she was coming to the realization that, ooh, I'm fucked.
Yeah. There's also more to this film that we don't see, because if you go on IMDb, there is a credit. There's a woman credited as adult Ruby Carter, which tells me that there was supposed to be a scene after this scene with the adult Ruby.
Oh, okay.
That would have been more decisive as to what
that would have showed that she either lived or.
Well, it definitely shows she lives.
The same thing happened.
Well, you definitely.
She lived, but well, yeah, she's obviously alive. But I mean, like that she either gave up her soul for the kid or made a deal.
Right. Yeah. So I'm interested to see if we ever see what was cut, if we ever see that scene. And that's what made me suspicious as to whether or not we're seeing Oz Perkins' full vision of this film or not, because I think that exposition scene hurts this movie a lot. We don't need it because we get plenty of hints from the Longlegs interview, as well as this final scene. There's a pretty decent montage in there of the mom delivering the dolls that you would have been able to, given everything, you would have been able to piece everything together. And then you don't need the mom delivering that heavy-handed voiceover. I would have preferred like a Robert Eggers or a Ben Wheatley, like a Ben Wheatley style Field in England fucking psychotronic, just flashing images kind of montage when after Lee Harker goes down and she wakes up in the basement. In between that, just put a fucking flashing images fucking nightmare scenario that, like, if you see the images, you can piece them together. Don't give me just like a long stanza of explanation.
Yeah, I guess they needed Lee to know 100% the truth. So the last final decision that she was stuck with is real. You know what I mean? Like she knows 100% it's real. So I get that. I think probably that was we didn't get that shot and this is the best way we can do it.
Yeah.
You know, so like this is a movie that I feel like could have been fucked, but was luckily made in the editing room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think
I could see that being a reality.
I would see it as like they probably showed.
I mean, it's true of any movie, I guess, but
they probably showed it to, like screening groups early on.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the screening groups were like, I don't get it. So then they go back and put in like the long narration voiceover.
Sure.
So it does explain it just enough for people. Because like I said, at the top of the episode, like there was somebody who said they really needed that scene to explain things to them. And it's like, I didn't. But if every
people also don't pay attention to the fucking movie because they're playing games on their phone.
Yeah, that's the other thing is people are playing fucking games. So like when I see that there's 3 scenes in this that give enough explanation and too much explanation, I'm like, right already, you know. But then like somebody else says, I needed it. I need my crutch. Help me understand movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the lowest common denominator of the fucking dog brains that, I mean, just aren't paying attention. I'm not even saying they're stupid. I'm just saying they not paying attention to the fucking movie. Anyway, couple other quick plot point things I want to talk about, and then I know we want to talk about the cinematography a little bit too. I felt like the psychic thing was fairly straightforward in that the psychic powers were given to her by the devil to steer her. Yeah, she got them. She didn't have them since she was little. She got them when the devil needed her to have them.
Right, yeah. And it's also part of the dolls themselves have psychic energy that they like. So you have to assume the doll of Lee Harker existed for a long time, like because it was originally supposed to be delivered to her as a child, and we see it later in the film. So that was actually, so like you're saying, that was used to control her. It was made to keep her from remembering that the Longlegs lives in her fucking basement, to keep her from remembering anything else in her life. And that's why it's so kind of strange when it's a great structuring of the film in that we see her when she first meets Longlegs, and then we jump to when she's a FBI agent, because even for the character Lee herself, everything else would be fucking just blank flashing images for her. So like that's kind of a great structuring of the film. But yeah, the psychic stuff is cool. I liked also like the little wisp of smoke when that like popped out of the ball when it was destroyed. And it was kind of like, it obviously it was there to represent some sort of like weird metaphysical curse. The devil put devil shit inside the brain to control the kid's brain, So I get that's what it was meant to symbolize, but I just think it was a really smart way of doing it, or at least interesting way of doing it, because that little wisp of smoke that like dissipates and is lost makes you think that, kind of like Prince of Darkness style, like the devil is actually chemical in some capacity. You know what I mean? Like there is physical devil powder that when reacts with oxygen in the air makes a little wisp of smoke. Like I just think that's cool to think about. I liked it when it came out of the doll. I hated it when it came out of her back of her head.
Yeah, that didn't need to happen.
Because that just felt too on the nose. Just like, I don't need that. But that's not for me. That's for...
Again, that felt...
Yeah.
Yes.
But the other thing I like about the psychic stuff, though, is it also has, like... I can't fully prove it or put it together yet, but it has a remote viewing kind of angle to it.
Because the eyes, definitely.
Yeah. So if you go to the scene where she's in the FBI, right? And they give her that kind of image test, and she's going through the images, and they're like, just say the first thing that comes to your mind when you see this image. And it just flashes a bunch of images. They seem to mean nothing to us. And she puts names to them. You can find visual pairings later on in the film with those. So, the one specifically that I found was when she says door, she's looking at an image of a rectangle that is half white, half yellow. And that's like a door. Later in the film, when we are recounting the Carrie Ann camera, like the camera family killings.
The camera farm.
The camera farm. The framing that we're seeing that from, we're seeing it through the doll's eyes, looking into that room, and we see, the preacher enter.
Mm-hmm.
We see it through a doorway, and in that doorway, it is a white ceiling with yellow walls.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. So she saw that, or the devil saw that. In turn, she saw that in some capacity.
At some point in her life.
Yeah.
There's a couple other ones, like the big one is father. She sees the upside down triangle and she calls it father.
Mm-hmm.
And then we later, learn all the other things about the upside down triangle. So
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I can't.
No, I didn't.
The one I really can't put together is tiger. So if you're listening and you know what tiger represents, I couldn't find a pair for that one.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, and I remember the tiger one was very prominent. Like it's one that like they pause after. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like the last one. I think even.
I think it's like tiger and then piano. And like she has a piano. She has a piano in her like bedroom. Table is another one, and I think it's like a circle on top of a flat plane, and that's like actually like a doll's head on top of the workbench. So yeah, it's there. There's clues there. That's one of the best things about the film is like there's these clues that we keep seeing that like this was a very deliberately made film, and I love films like this. They're just like
yeah,
give me all the clues.
I was gonna say this is a movie I'm gonna watch 10 times and probably learn something new about every time. And I hate if you don't like this movie, I hate you. That's what I mean to say. No, I don't. I'm just saying if you don't understand this movie, that's fine. It might be too hard for you. Some people can't do hard stuff. I'm sorry. Fuck you.
Movie's too hard.
You fucking dork. Get smarter, dork. Anyway, so yeah, that's a great segue into talking about the cinematography, because there are all these crazy wide angle shots in this movie that are just, I mean, there is so much to see. And it was part of the reason why I wanted to murder that kid in front of me with the fucking phone out, because I'm trying to pay attention to all these corners and stuff. And all I could see is this dumbass fucking online betting app or whatever the fuck he's looking at. Yeah, I mean, you're obviously more the expert on cinematography and that sort of stuff. What were your thoughts on that? I know you mentioned you really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally loved it. And like you're saying, there's so many wide angle lenses and they distort the world around you because of that. The very early scene that impresses all this upon us is when Harker and her partner go to this suburban neighborhood because they're hunting a different killer. And she gets out of the car and like you just see like end to end all these houses, and then her psychic abilities pop in and she pushes like she comes more into frame as she begins to focus more, and then everything else fades out into the background. It becomes blurry because she's so focused on this one building, and like they even do it with the sound design that like she can't hear her partner. And so, yeah, it's kind of like a great setup. The other thing they do with...
Yeah, we didn't mention the sound design's fucking tremendous in this movie.
Yeah, great sound design, especially because like they're using so much of that, like just hard, like guitar feedback a lot of the time, but it's, it's
just droning kind of thing.
But it's in there to mimic like what the ball's doing. What that ball doing? That ball making noise, making a...
Yeah, what that... That ball be vibrating in her head, making her think things.
Making her think thoughts. So that's one of the uses of the wide angle. The other use of the wide angle is just creating, it's not just the wide angle, but it's also the framing of so much headroom. like that the space between, the top of Harker's head and the top of the frame is almost always open and empty. There's just like nothing above her. And all that does is create these frames where she's so diminutive in the frame because the film is treating her like a child. Like she either herself internally feels like she has no power, or she unknowingly has no power because she's being controlled by the devil. But either way, she is being treated like a child by the world around her.
And she feels like it too, I think, because, obviously she makes like a comment when she's talking to her boss's daughter, who's like, is it scary being a woman, being a girl in the FBI? And she's like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, kind of thing.
And like in that scene, she's like kind of on the same level as the child because like they're both sitting down on the bed. So like she's not that much taller than the kid in that room. And then they both have that huge headroom above them in the two shot. So yeah. It happens. There's a really good scene that is like, it's just like everything. It's when she's on the phone with her mom I think it's in the FBI building. She's like kind of in the
I know what
she's like in the lobby of the FBI building, and she's on the phone with her mom. And at that point, she has like a lot of she felt like she had like a lot of control over things, and she is framed pretty standardly. She's up close in the frame, and that's when she has control. Like when she's big in the frame, she has control. When she's small, no control.
She's talking about like, hey, they're putting me on an important case and things are going well.
Yeah. So like she's stoked on herself at this point. And then her mom hits her with, have you been saying your prayers? And we cut to this extremely wide, empty lobby. She's so small in that frame. And then there's other things going on in that frame, in that we see a staircase. And a lot of the times we see a staircase, there is some sort of yellow lighting at the top of the stairs, which it like suggests ascension. And then Lee is surrounded by like red lights, obviously hell. Like she's always existing in some sort of hell, and then trying to ascend. So yeah, that's one of my favorite shots in the film. But like, there's a bunch like that.
Yeah, that one stuck with me too. I remember because it's also like down a couple of stairs. It's like as low down in the that building as you could almost be, without being in the fucking basement, right? There's just, this movie does a great job of it has some really scary scenes. It's got a couple of jump scares, a couple of which are kind of silly, which I kind of liked, but there is this they do a tremendous job of like just building up dread.
Yeah.
Like with the sound design, but with the build up to different like reveals, and like so much of it is Lee, and the facial expressions from Maika Monroe is just, you are feeling her dread, whether it's leading up to when they're going to show those bodies that are like a month old in the bed, or when she's watching the initial interview on the TV where he's basically like asking for her,
right? Yeah.
And she knows she has to confront him. And then she obviously goes in and has to, and she's trying so hard to not appear scared, but she looks terrified. And then and when shit hits the fan, whether it be when she's outside, when she sees him outside the house, or even that scene you mentioned after they're going looking for the other killer and her partner gets shot and she's running through the house, that like close up, heavy breathing, you can't see any corners. You're just watching her reactions. Just such a great job of, and all you're really hearing is the droning. And then you were hearing just her super heavy breathing. Like she's moving, her body's reacting in the way that she's supposed to be. She's doing the thing she's supposed to and has been trained to do, but her, physiologically, she is just like hyperventilating.
Yeah. Yeah. And they copy the same shot later on in the film when she confronts her mom. Like when she's holding the gun, it's like it's the same exact framing, just to marry that same idea of just like it's almost autonomous reaction, the way she just pulls a gun and dives into danger. But yeah, the on top of like building the dread all the ways you mentioned, again, it's the wide angle framing that also lets you see all these open doorways and blacked out windows, and like you're always searching the doorways and windows for like something to jump out. Like you assume there's something there, but you're not sure.
Yeah. What I do want to talk about, perhaps one of the most memorable scenes, certainly one of the most memorable scenes in the movie, which is that interrogation between Lee and interrogating Longlegs. And I'm interested to hear your take on how that ties into the whole plan of the devil, if you will, because he gives himself up in an almost, I don't think it's comical. It's not meant to be comical as much as it's meant to be laughably pathetic.
Yeah.
Like when he knows he's caught and he knows Lee's coming for him, and he has all but handed Lee the map to come find him. I mean, literally, she deciphers these things that everybody else, couldn't decipher, but it's not because she's brilliant. He gives her the key.
Right. Yeah.
Like he shows her, here are the letters, decipher it,
Right.
And she does. She doesn't tell her, the captain or whatever it is but she is being spoon fed evidence and leads on how to find him. So he is giving himself up. He knows he's going to get caught. He's expecting to get caught, and he's doing what the devil's telling him to do. Right. So there's this like scene where he's standing at a bus stop and cops are coming down both sides of the road. He just like puts his stuff down and like puts his arms up in the air kind of thing.
It is.
So once he's
just like a lot of this film does this, and I compared this to like evil Wes Anderson. But this is the most Wes Anderson scene, because Longlegs is, front and center framed, up and down in the frame. And then you cut to these comical
fucking schlubby.
Yeah. And then you cut to these comical shots of like, the image is bent because of the lens they're using. But like these cops come rolling up from deep in the frame, and they come rolling up to arrest them. And just like the way they approach him, or just like, put your hands up. And it's like, yeah, that's what he was doing. Like, you're that, like,
yeah, but doesn't the cop also call him like fuckface or something?
Yeah.
He calls him something.
Yeah. There's,
I don't remember if it's that, but he calls him something like that.
There's such a Wes Anderson.
It's very Wes Anderson
to that scene, but like it feels through other parts of the scene, and
you almost expect to see the camera swing like in a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah, exactly. And then like the reserved performances also kind of have a Wes Anderson about them, because like the FBI agents are very matter of fact, and Alicia Witt, even though she's weird, has like a reservation to her, and then obviously Maika Monroe is like very reserved, like it's like Gwyneth Paltrow in the Royal Tenenbaums. Like there's no like real surface emotion to anybody except Longlegs.
Yeah. Yeah, very sharp. The other what was the name of the other agent that gets shotgunned in the face by her mother?
I forget what her Agent Browning is her character name.
She's straight out of Wes Anderson, central casting. But anyway, yeah. So it ultimately culminates with and you get the idea he's going to do something desperate, not desperate, but he's crying. He's like, things are coming to an end for him. He's given himself up, and he's there to kind of explain stuff or whatever, but he's very pleased with his work. And then eventually he gives this little monologue, and then he just kind of goes, "Hail Satan," and just smashes his head off of the metal table several times and just like destroys his face, and that's how he kills him, which is just about the most brutal way I could think of, for someone to kill themselves.
Yeah, this is where like because we don't know what his actual terms are with the devil, or if he even actually has terms with the devil. This is where ambiguity is still largely at play, because we don't know that. The one thing we do know, especially Catholics know this, if you kill yourself, you go to hell.
Sure.
And so that's what you can just assume that he was going for, is like, he's just like, well, you know what? I'm going to do the one thing I know that's going to get me to go see my buddy, Mr. Downstairs, because there's nothing else I can do for sure, but I know one thing there is, plow.
Well, and I took that as this was absolutely part of him and Mr. Downstairs. This was their plan. You give yourself up, you go in, you off yourself, and hey, maybe there's a reward at the end of there for you, because not only is he just there for the ride, it's interesting because Mrs. Harker, Lee's mom, is she's doing it for self-preservation, and I guess more importantly, Lee's preservation. Longlegs is like, nah, he's a full-on sympathizer. He thinks the devil's sick. You know what I mean?
Right,
and he's on Team Devil. Yeah. He's not doing it because the devil's got him over a barrel. He's doing it because devil's my dude.
Right.
He's a much more pathetic, I don't know, Renfield of the devil, a little bit more.
Yeah. He's definitely a Renfield of the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing is, like, why would he try to escape? If that was always the plan, why were his bags packed?
I don't think he was trying to escape. I think he was giving himself up.
Nah, he was at a bus stop and he had his bags packed.
I know he was at the bus stop, but like, I think he didn't seem surprised when the cops showed up.
Yeah, he did. He didn't seem surprised. Again, this is the ambiguity. Like, he doesn't seem surprised. Also, why wouldn't he just take his car? Why wouldn't he take the mom's car? Like, there's a whole bunch of questions.
Or this. Oh, this is a better guess for what I think probably happened here. He's a pawn and he's a dupe and he's a dumbass. You know what I mean? Of the devil. So I bet the devil, was like, hey, done with you. You're released. You're safe. But here's the plan. If you get caught, you got to end it, bud. And he was like, yeah, of course, Mr. Downstairs. Of course, whatever you say. And then he's like, well, I guess I'll go to the bus station. And then the cops are there and he's like, darn it. And he just is like, guess this is what's going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? He's just like a helpless dupe. And of course, the devil was like, of course, this dumbass is going to get caught. What's he going to do?
Right.
But he was expendable at this point. He's done. Like, he's moving on to his next target.
I like that. So
he made his last doll. The doll's made.
Right. Yeah. So we can expand upon that too. So the devil's already told him, hey, if you ever get caught, kill yourself, but also tell Harker what's up. So he has those instructions, but then like, just like as they figure out who he is, the devil's like,
Hey, they know who you are. You gotta go to the bus stop.
I can't take my car.
No, they know what your car looks like. Go to the bus stop.
And so the devil just tricks him to go to the bus stop because he knows that's where he's going to get picked up at.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's a fucking dupe, right? There was one other thing I was gonna bring up, and now it's completely escaped me. Oh, I just noticed this as I'm tooling around here on the IMDb's. The what's the family the go to the something farm? What was it?
The camera family and the camera farm.
Camera family. Yeah. So the one girl who survived that one, right?
Yes.
The one girl who wasn't home when that happened.
And
then of course he goes and finds her, and she goes and talks to her at the insane asylum, and then ultimately she jumps off the top of the insane asylum, kills herself, and she delivers a silly little monologue about I don't know, something about peaches or something, I forget. Sure. Anyway, that's Sabrina.
Yeah, that's Kiernan Shipka. She was in she was also in Osgood's first movie, The Blackcoat's Daughter, which is pretty good. Pretty good. I like it.
I haven't seen it yet. I know everyone's seen it. It's been out forever. A buddy of mine was like, it's one of his favorite movies, and he keeps telling me to watch it, and I haven't watched it yet. But I didn't realize she was in that. But it was just fun. It took you a sec to realize who she was. But
yeah, there's a great clue. There's a great clue in that scene too. And they're talking, and Lee asks Carrie Ann, do you remember a doll in your house? And and Carrie Ann's response is, no, and you don't remember neither. And at the time you hear that, it doesn't mean anything. But then it's like, oh, Carrie Ann was aware that, like, oh, she actually did have a doll in her house. So yeah.
Here's the one thing I was kind of curious of. What happened that allowed, I mean, it didn't last long. She ultimately did kill herself, but I have a guess about this, but it's a stretch. What happened that allowed her to live? Like, she wasn't there, obviously.
Yeah.
So was it just good luck? Or so it was just good luck. So why did the devil go and see her later? Or no, not the devil, but why did Longlegs go and see her later?
So my assumption is, after the family killed them, after the father killed the camera family and the preacher, and they found out that the doll was still around, obviously Longlegs or the mother went and placed the doll in the thing in the barn
or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, it was in a case in
under
a barn.
The floorboards.
Yeah. And then that sent the girl into a catatonic state, and then she was more or less safe in the insane asylum, just catatonic.
Gotcha.
And so I think by them digging up the doll and releasing, the power and everything in the doll, and then she comes to from that release, it allowed Longlegs.
Oh, she was. I think I maybe missed the fact that she was. Now you say it, I remember a bit of dialogue that she had come to and was finally talking again, kind of. And then Longlegs might have went to talk to her and said, now don't talk to this other girl, come talk to you.
Yeah.
Or something, Okay. I forgot that she was catatonic before they found the doll.
Yeah. So he probably just went in and whispered some devil words into her head and hey, you're going to get a visit tomorrow, and you tell this lady all that she needs to know. And then on this date, go fucking kill yourself.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I forgot about that part, with the her being just basically starting to talk or whatever. Anything else? Like I said, I love this movie. I honestly, there's some stuff that's come out this year that I know are big that I haven't seen yet. But this is, I can't really think of something else that's going to be above this for movie of the year for me right now. I fucking loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was unique. I thought it was scary. I thought it was, dread heavy, fantastic performances. And just give me all the fucking occult, detective fucking stories you got. Send them my way. I loved it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when did we do our episode of When Evil Lurks? That was last year. So that was last year. Yeah. So this is currently up top for me. I'll say The First Omen has some really good bits of directing. It has a really good look to it. And
I still have to see. That's one of the ones I still got to watch.
Yeah, but the fact that it isn't original and it bites off too much other stuff, I can't put it up there against a similarly well, possibly better directed film that is original. How could you go? Yeah. How could you go against it? So, Can't, but First Omen's up there, but this is like you're saying, this is like number one right now. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah.
Also, I watch a whole bunch of shit that's not of this year, so I don't know. Like, my brain's all confused anyway.
I do. I watch a lot of stuff like the year after it comes out, like when it goes to streaming,
right.
Type of thing. So yeah, I might not be the best person to ask right now, but yeah, I thought this was fucking pretty tremendous. So check it out if you haven't already. Hopefully you already have if you're listening to this. Otherwise, we just spoil the living shit up out of it. I know there's a lot of people who like to listen because maybe they're too scared to watch the movie or something like that. Just go watch it. It's visually stunning, even if you know what the hell's happening, and you probably will pick up some really cool stuff, even knowing what the hell happens. So check it out, boys and ghouls. Also, like I said, tune in next week, wherein we gonna tell you what our Blood Beach movies are for the August Showdown episode. And then, do we know what we're talking about next week yet?
I have an idea, and I'll run it past you, and then
Ooh,
we'll see.
Ideas. I like ideas.
It's a listener suggestion.
Okie dokie, I like that. All right. Anything else, Steve, we should chat about before we lock this bad boy up for the week?
No, I got nothing else. Go see Longlegs. See it in the theaters, but don't see it with a bunch of jags who are going to play on their phones.
Turn your phones off, you fuck. But go watch this movie in the theater. Get yourself some dang old popcorn. Support them big, giant ass fucking movie theaters. No, fuck them. Go watch an independent theater if you can. But yeah, go out to the movies and check this one out because it's a movie that the sound design, not unlike Mandy, it's a very different movie than Mandy, but not unlike another Nicolas Cage classic, Mandy, I feel like will benefit dramatically from the theater experience, disproportionately so compared to a lot of other movies. So go check it out. All right, boys and ghouls, for the Halloween's Forever crew, I'm Brian.
And I'm Mr. Longlegs.
You wait a while.
Bye-bye.
Meet you downstairs.
Cuckoo.
Cuckoo. Cuckoo.